Craig Hohenberger here with the Go Big region of Action Coach, and it's my pleasure to be interviewing Peg Buehrle, one of our more tenured franchise partners.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been with us, Peg? Now?
I joined on in 2006. So it was like December of 2006. I went to training 2007, that January class.
Yeah,
It's been a
excellent.
while. So now it's been a while.
Yeah, so you came in right, it wasn't all that much longer when the Great Recession kicked off. Like it
Right.
started
So I had a
thriving
year under
economically.
about a year and a half under my belt and the recession hit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now, if you could just share a little bit about your background prior to Action Coach, and then Susan, your stepmom, is who introduced us.
Right.
Yeah.
So a franchise consultant that
Yep.
introduced me. And it was funny because I really wasn't looking for a business. So I didn't do a search. She paired me with Action Coach because she saw it was a great fit of what my goals, my values, and what my drive was. So obviously it's been successful because here I am, going on my 14th year. So worked out well.
Yeah. And what
So,
did you do prior to Action Coach?
so I was a sales manager for a radio station. And well, I say sales manager, but I really ran the radio station. So my background was in sales. It was in a little bit of marketing, and it was in running a business because I was in charge of P&Ls, not only for that station, but I had little mini events that I ran that I had about 10 different P&Ls that I managed. So I had a little background in that before I started. And one thing I thought was interesting, I was just telling somebody this yesterday, is what I thought would be easy, because I thought, well, I have sales, I have business, I've been coaching, I've been a boss, I got this.
And you were selling to other business owners since it
Right.
was advertising for a radio station. So your network was very
Big.
conducive to the kinds of people that we would sell to in this business.
So I'm like, okay, I got this. This will be really, and I think, Craig, I'm telling you things you already know, but
Yep.
I thought it would be quicker than it was. And that's, I just want, what I wanted to do is just say, okay, here's 1 month I'm in, and then I'm going to accelerate. You can absolutely do that. And you've got to anticipate that I like to say your first year is like you're an apprentice. So although I did well, I thought I would do a lot better. I had to give myself time to learn and and allow myself time and patience to be successful, because you are coming in. And here's another thing that I learned, because I do also coach coaches that were coming into the franchise as a trainer. And what I said is, we're running a marathon, but everybody starts at a different mile marker. So if you talk to one franchise, they might have a different story because they started at mile 1, where somebody else starts at mile 10, mile 15. Everybody comes in at a different point, but at the same time, you've got to allow yourself the education and the learning and the patience and the experience to be successful. And I think people get impatient with that process.
Right, exactly. And I think, like going back to your first year, I think we all underestimated the startup for you. And I think we all looked past the sales side of the fence because you were so good at sales already. You knew a lot of people. So we all kind of glossed over that piece of our systems at Action Coach. And it was the first couple months of not getting a lot of fruit from all your efforts.
That's right.
Yeah. And then it
I
was like,
thought,
oh my gosh, once you got really dove into the systems of the sales side of the fence for us, it started breaking loose for you, and the rest of the year was a great year.
I ended up being rookie of the year that year. When I tell the story, people go, oh, it was awful. Actually, I was rookie of the year for North America. And at the end of the year of that 12 months, so by that December, I was billing $12,000 a month. So it wasn't like I was destitute. It was just, I thought, oh, I have the perfect background. Month 2, I'll be at 12,000 a month or 15,000 a month.
Right.
I was expecting, because that's who I was. That's what I am now. Trust me, I'm doing very well now. The message I want to put is, as you're engaging in doing this process, is to be patient with yourself, be diligent, be persistent. And yesterday, Pete and I, Pete's my partner, who was a franchise owner is a franchise owner, we met each other in Action Coach and decided to bring our practices together. which has been truly a blessing. So we
Yeah, you
were,
guys are an amazing team
oh,
together.
it's been wonderful. And we were on a new business call last night, and we were telling, he goes, tell us about Action Coach, tell us your story. And as we were talking, and we were like, gosh, we've been together almost like 14 years. And we said, it is interesting how much you learn. And they said, well, why are you, because we said, a lot of coaches don't make it that long. And he goes, what made you make it that long? And I go, well, a couple things. Number one, having a franchise is really important because there's community and education and processes.
Yeah.
And he liked that because he was a process guy. I said, I'm not coming in creating the processes. They're there. I'm going to teach you some concepts that are there. And then the other thing we said is we were persistent and stubbornly, and we were almost to a point of stubborn that we wouldn't allow ourselves to fail. And that's
Isn't
what it
isn't that the
takes. Because
truth? That's the way I am
we
too.
said, if you talk to a coach and they go, oh, I lasted 3 years, it's because they gave up too soon.
Yeah, yeah.
And
We have a lot of advantages within the Action Coach community with the culture, the community, the proven systems that we get to leverage, and all we have to do is bring our own passion and work ethic and heart and spirit to the party and run after it. And that's really the key. So
right,
yeah,
right.
it's pretty cool
That
that
is
way.
the
So
key.
so Peg, describe the culture, because I know for me, coming in from the outside, that was something that attracted me originally. But I also discounted it coming from the corporate world because I knew or thought I knew that all they really cared about was, getting their royalties from me and that kind of stuff. And but as long as it's my own business, cool, I can, have the cultural principles and the work-life balance that I want to have.
Right.
But I discounted just how much of an effort they were placing to me to vet the culture to make sure it was a good fit for me. And it was only once I was in that I went, oh my gosh, they're dead serious about this, and it really is for real. And
I
I
like
had
it.
this
Yeah.
BFO, this wake up call about a year into my
Right.
tenure with Action Coach, where it really hit me like, oh my gosh, this really is for real. So, what are your
That's
experiences from a
true.
culture perspective?
Well, it's funny. You and I have been together forever, and I would call you a friend. I know you know that already, but I would call you a friend, and I've never heard you say that. Like, I've heard you say it, but
Yeah.
wow, that's because that's what happened to me. So, to echo what you just said, Craig. So when I first joined, I'm a driven person, and I did my first workshop. So I went to training, and you guys gave me lots of support. I mean, just what to do. It's what to do. So I'm going through my task list, getting things done. One of which is you want to get workshops going. That's how you're going to get clients. It's how you get better. It's how you learn. It's a
Yeah.
great thing. And so when I came back to do my workshops, I had all these coaches saying, hey, I'll do it with you. And I got so confused. Why would I need another business owner that I was like, it was very foreign to me. Like, why would you help me, number one? And why would I need you, number two? Um,
Mm,
I didn't think I needed them. I'm like, well, I'm good. I got this. But it was that culture of community and helping. Well, guess what? I did need them. And I wasn't prior to this, I was in such a competitive environment that we didn't do things together. I like went out and I killed my own and I brought it back. And I mean, we did some things together, but it wasn't so team oriented. And so that was my first inkling. And that's, in fact, that's how I did meet Pete, because we started doing workshops together. And I realized, okay, wait a minute. It is helpful. Okay, now all of the coaches together are doing workshops because we have a culture of abundance. And I started understanding that over time, and then accelerate that of now we have a culture of abundance within our clients and our coaches. So here's an example. And again, I said this last night. Our community is so strong, not only within our practice of our firm, but in Columbus, in Go Big, and then in North America, well, and globally. Like, we do a North American conference, and all of our clients go. We had 33 people go to our North American Action Coach conference, and there was 700 people there, and everybody there wants to learn, grow, do good, and help each other. And that's the community, and that's the culture, and that's the value.
yeah, it is pretty amazing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough to describe for people coming from that. Like, same with me coming out of the corporate world. It was so hyper competitive that, here at Action Coach we talk about abundance versus scarcity and
Mm-hmm.
co-opetition versus competition. And it was kind of a foreign concept to me until I've experienced it and went, wow, this is so much better than, where I came from by a long
It's
shot.
true. Hmm.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's funny that you bring that up. That
Yeah,
is
and getting
exactly
to
because
know
I
each
came from
other's
corporate.
clients, and it helps reinforce, and going to, like you said, conference, and clients from all over North America are there and networking, and they're hearing the same things as they're working with their individual coaches on. And it just helps reinforce the community, and clients stay longer. Like, how long do clients stay with you, Peg?
So we're and it's not an accident. We took this action coach culture and applied it to our firm and our clients. So on average, they're with us 6 years. So we won the last 2 years globally, the longest client retention rate in the world.
Excellent. Yeah. So, and that's unheard of within our industry in general.
In the
And
industry, right?
within Action Coach, clients typically stay for years on end, which is pretty amazing.
Right. Right. And I think it's part of that community. Like when we have them go to that North American conference, which is called the Business Excellence Forum or BizX now, um, that's part of our retention strategy. And then we also do awards night just locally with our clients. And then we do a roundtable. In fact, on Tuesday, we're doing a roundtable with all of our clients together to share. So then they start doing business with each other. So we have clients that say, I can't leave you, not only because you're coaching me, but I'm getting the other clients benefit and I'm getting business. So
Right.
it works out real
Exactly.
well.
Yeah. And what types of clients do you work with?
So what we like to do is have vertical specialties. We found that to be the best for marketing and retention. So some of our specialties are veterinarians. And construction is a really big area. So we have a lot of remodelers and subcontractors like painters, exterior guys. Um, we have engineers, architects. So you can imagine all of that in construction. Heating and cooling dealers. We have multiple ones like that. Then we also have attorneys, but only one attorney, and we've had him since I remember since Allie's been in third grade, and she is now a sophomore in college. So how many years is that?
Yeah.
So we have different, but those are the categories that we really specialize in. Although we just signed up a client yesterday, we signed up actually 3 clients. We had a fitness, Orange Theory, franchise group. And then the second one was a refrigeration, commercial refrigeration, large company. And then the third one was, believe it or not, an HVAC, different than refrigeration, by the way, for those of you listening that know HVAC. So there's different types. So we signed up 3 of those, and those were their categories.
Super. And so, Peg, a lot of times people who are looking at Action Coach and considering this as their next step for their future, as a great business opportunity, sometimes they'll look at us and go, "Gosh, how can you charge the kinds of fees that you charge in our business?" So what would a typical client fee, a client retainer be for
So
you?
it's neat because I'll just tell you what we signed up yesterday. So on average, we charge $2,500 a month for an individual for coaching 4 times a month is our fee right now on average. Now we have some clients that are paying, we have one client that's paying $6,800 a month. We have a low end, we have a client paying right now. We signed up one client yesterday that it's gonna, they're depending on what they do, they signed up for a leadership training that we do for either 1,500, it'll either be 1,500 a month for multiple people to go to a class, to 2,700, which I think they're going to do 2,700 a month. But that's for multiple groups. So one thing I want to say is that when you're providing packages, we want to help everybody we can. We never want to say, no, you can't afford us. That we will not say that. Our
Right.
value as a firm is we will help you. Let's figure out a way that you need it, that you can afford it, to make it an investment, and that we can do it long term. So we might put you in a class instead of one-on-one coaching. But on average, so the things that we signed up yesterday was 2,750 for a class of 5 managers. The other one was 3,750 for one-on-one coaching for 3 executives twice a month. So each executive is twice a month. So it's 3,750 per month. And then the other one was 6,000 per month. But again, that was for 4 executives. and we're
Yep.
doing it like twice a month, and we're figuring out a class.
Awesome. So some people will look at that and go, oh my gosh, for a couple of hours a month and we're charging those kinds of fees. How can we justify that kind of value? But it's really not about the hour. We don't charge hourly. It's about ultimately the value that the clients are getting on the bottom line. Correct?
Right. And it's very important when you're talking to them for them to see a return on investment, because you never want to have that conversation of, well, wait a minute, I'm paying you $500 or $600 an hour. You never want to get into that conversation because we talk about results. So here's an example. So the one that we said 3,750, we're going to coach 3 of their project managers. Each project manager manages 60 million. Well, one manages 60 million, the other does 20 million, the other does 30 million worth of projects, and they're in charge of their profitability. So you have to break down the impact of our conversations would have on the profitability, so you see a return on investment. And then you measure that. That's how you keep people, is you see results. You don't have to have contracts if you get results. They'll never want to leave you because you're going to continue for them to make money. And
Yeah.
that you have to show how you're going to make money, which in training, they teach you that. They're going to teach you, here's the 5 ways, here's to calculate, here's your sales process. It's really important to do that. Otherwise, you'll go down a conversation of that. And if I'm starting to go down that conversation where they're calculating per hour, I realize I haven't done my job of showing the value.
Right. That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's really about the value that they're going to get uh, in their businesses, in their lives. So, how important is it to? So sometimes I'll explain to people that look, it's all about the integration of their business with their life. Right? They're in
Right.
business for a reason, so it's about how do we use your business to help you achieve your life goals, dreams, legacy, ambitions. So we're integrating that constantly with our clients.
Right.
What's your experience in terms of working with your clients and making their lives better, not just their business?
Well, that's so it always comes down to team time and money, right? That's what we're looking at. And the reason you want time and money is to help with your personal goals, right? And you want your team because you want time. So if you develop your team well enough, it allows you to have time to do the things you want. So one thing you have to do is understanding, and this is a really important part of when you're starting to coach. And one thing we say we're experts at is succession planning. Because at the end of the day, what's the end game? What do we want to accomplish? When do we want to be out? And we should be planning 10 years out. So if you're talking to someone and they're 50 years old and they go, I want to retire in 5 years, well, we can do that, but we have to accelerate. So understanding the why I want to retire. And one thing, and most people don't know why. They're just so into the hamster wheel of, I'm just working, I'm just working, I'm just working. So one thing we like to do is increase their vision by doing different exercises or getting them around other people that are in that vision. And that's why going to the conferences is really good, and having a 90-day planning session, which is part of what we do, is to figure out, okay, why are we doing this, and what is the purpose behind it? So so we'll do that, or a dream chart. We do dream charts a lot. Okay, every year we do a quarterly session and we do a breakout of what's your dream chart and why. And so when you're doing your plan, it's not just I want to get to $2 million more, but what are we going to do with it and why? Like I have one client, George, who wants to buy his own island in Canada, which will be exciting.
How cool is that? That's pretty
Isn't that
awesome.
neat? One
Yeah.
other thing we do to increase vision is Pete, our partner, has a lake house, a beautiful lake house. And in fact, I've invited you and Annette often, by the way. You need to come. You have to come. I know you've been there once, but we are now taking clients there. So we have a client coming next week. And we're taking half days, and we're going to go through and get them out on the boat and drive around. Now, these homes are large, multi-million dollar homes, million, and talking about would you like one of these? What would it take to get here? Like that kind of thing, to increase their vision and to allow them a moment to not work. They go, what's our agenda? This is funny. What's our agenda? And we said, there's not going to be an agenda. We're going to actually enjoy ourselves. Like
Have fun,
we're
dream.
going to have fun,
Yeah.
dream, have some eats and just enjoy, because most of the people we talk to aren't taking time to slow down. And this is a moment to slow down, and it's to help to increase their vision.
Yeah. So
And we'll have fun.
speaking of vision, Peg, what was your original vision when you first were when Susan introduced us and you were leaving your corporate job to do this? What was your original vision, and how has that shifted through the years? Where is it today?
Oh, that's a good question. I like that question because it makes me reflect too. So when I first did it, Allie was my oldest and she was 4 years old. I can't even believe I'm saying that. And Lauren was 1. Now Allie is 19 and Lauren is 16. So my original vision was to be able to spend time with my kids as they got older. So my goal was, I said, when you first start, you've got to work. I'm just telling you, put in the hours. You've got to work. This isn't hey, I'm going to just work 10 hours a week. If you are going to be at a successful level, I want you to put in the hours. I want you to put in the time. So I said, I'm going to take 5 hours and work my butt off. And I did. And by the time Lauren is in kindergarten and first, it'll allow me choice. So that was my vision. I wanted choice. And then I was going to also build a firm. I said, I want to have multiple coaches working for me and I want to be a business owner, not just a coach. So that was the goal. So I didn't have like lots of stuff. It was about time for me. And then I wanted to make money too, don't get me wrong, but my drive was time. So believe it or not, it was my time. I got it. So and one person that helped me a lot, Pete is my coach, because as we got more successful, I didn't do what I said I would do. As I got the success, I still worked like crazy because I'm that kind of person. And he pulled me aside and he said, your goal was to spend time with your kids and your kids are going to grow up quickly and it will be gone. Start doing it. So stop at 3:00, stop your day. Take Fridays off, be with them, be the mom parent, do all of this. Those are all things I couldn't have done. And I did it all. And then I took the kids with me to conferences. So I'm taking them, they travel with me. They're integrated in Action Coach. And we were talking about, because Pete's older than me. So Pete is going to be 64 and I'm 54. And so of course we're looking at succession planning for ourselves. And I'm like, well, Pete, you're 10 years out. Should we start looking about who, maybe Michelle will buy our practice or whoever. And as we're having that conversation, I looped in John, my husband, and Allie and Lauren, and they both said, please don't sell it. We want that business. We want to be coaches too, which is.
Isn't that cool? Like
It was,
our kids are the same way. And as you know, with a lot of the clients that we work with and a lot of the business owners we meet in this industry, there's a lot of them that their kids have seen, how their
right.
business like consumes their life, and the kids want nothing to do with it oftentimes. And like, man, our kids can't wait to take over our business someday.
Right.
Such
It's
that we
so
have to
funny.
change the will that if we die from any kind of weird means, like they.
Well, and it's just so funny because that was the vision. And 15 years later, I'm living it. It did happen. Now they're in college and they know they have to go and get a job outside. They can't just jump into this. They have to go and get something else and then come to it.
Yeah.
But Allie's looking at being she's in engineering civil now, but she might switch to industrial, which will be systems, et cetera. So it'll be perfect because she's a analytical kind of person, and Lauren's really a salesperson at heart. So she's going to be looking at communication and sales. So they would be a good partnership. So we're thinking of that. So that was really the idea, was creating a legacy and creating something as a family. And then financially, here, I'll show you one of the goals where I am now. This is my office now. We built this beautiful patio here, which I think, Craig, you've been here. It's so pretty. But anyway, this is my office. And then we're about to buy a lake house now too.
How cool is that?
I think I told
Are
her
you going
that.
to be on Apple Valley too, or are you looking elsewhere?
You know what? We're looking at Indian Lake, and we're going to
Okay.
start looking next month, like September, October. We like Indian Lake because it has like restaurants and it has more choices for homes, where Apple Valley, although it's beautiful, it's just a home. And
Yep.
plus Apple Valley is extremely expensive.
Okay.
It's extremely, we went and
And you
there's
get
a
the
house.
benefit of it anyway because Pete's got his.
Exactly. So we said, well, Pete, we'll visit you. And then we have 2 clients that are on that lake too.
Yep.
Already.
Awesome.
So we said, we'll come up and then we'll go Indian Lake. And so those are some of the visions and the goals that we've achieved throughout this process.
Now, did you imagine back when you were still in the corporate world that you would be sitting here having this kinds of conversations and the integration with your life and the balance and where you're headed?
No, I wouldn't have. I mean, where if I had stayed where I was, I would have either been downsized, or I probably wouldn't have been downsized. They would have kept me, but I would have been put in a different role and been making less money because everybody had, when I was in the corporate world, and this is why I left it, everything was out of my control. I had to do things they told me to do that didn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would not be here. I would not have this much freedom. I would have not been with my kids. I can't believe it. Like, looking back, I was with my children as they grew up. I never had to give that up.
I know. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And speaking of, beyond just being able to have more time and freedom and being able to be there with them from a time perspective, how has being a part of Action Coach specifically made you a better human being in general beyond just having a great business from a professional perspective?
Well, that's a good question, because when I joined it, if I had watched my interview, I think I would have known a lot more. Like, although I did talk to a lot of people, don't get me wrong, but one thing I underestimated is what you just said. How did it make you a better person? So what I didn't know is that everything you're learning that you're about to teach is what you consume for yourself, because you have to be congruent. You have to be that person that you're asking them to be. So you're raising your game. And I didn't realize that it was going to make me a better wife, a better daughter, and a better parent. And so as the kids have been growing up, I've been coaching them. They've been coached since the time they were 4 and 1. And what that means is, I went into Lauren's room. She's 16-year-old daughter. You know how teenagers are, right? Like, you're trying to tell them something, but apparently I'm not as smart as I thought I was, because, she knows everything. But there I saw on her sheet of paper, it was a bunch of I am statements. And we've been talking about affirmations and what you say to yourself for years. And you don't think it's getting through, but you see those moments where it's getting through. And Allie's been dating someone, just a dear boy, for about 2 years. And at the table we talk, like, I bring that to the table, what's great about this, what do you like about that person, all these things that we would do and teach in team meetings. And the one thing he said is, my favorite thing about Allie is she's super positive, and she doesn't allow us to blame or be negative, and she talks about goals and moving forward. And I think that all came from the parenting and the principles of Action Coach. So it's pretty neat. I didn't know that part. That was just a bonus.
Yeah, I didn't either when we first came in, and
Mhm.
I left the corporate world for a lot of same reasons you did. And I know you know the story, but yeah, I didn't see Lauren walking until day 11, and I wanted to be there for her. And I turned it into that dad that was taking her to swimming lessons and coaching her teams and things
Yeah,
like that. And now she's getting married, and man, I'm a better dad, a better husband, a better father. I've got better kids than I would have had I stayed in my former
right.
life. For sure.
Dead on. Same here. It's the
Yep.
same thing. I mean, and I'm glad you asked that question, because those who are listening, that's not discussed, because people are always looking at, am I going to make money? Of course, that's important. I mean, you've got to have a living, but that other stuff is actually more valuable.
Yeah, and the cool part is here we get to have it all basically.
Right. Right.
Yep. There is no real limitation. It doesn't conflict, which
Right.
is
And here's another thing. I'm just another note that I didn't anticipate. So obviously, if you're listening, maybe you've already done your retirement plan, or if not, I would suggest you doing that, just to make sure, like, how much you need to save. And as Pete and I are doing, because Pete and I do our retirement plan together, because it's based on the business, right? And we're like, you never have to retire. Why would you ever retire? Because you could always have 1 or 2 clients. Like, there is no retirement. John and I, my husband and I, were walking the other day, and I go, I am retired. I mean, I'm working and loving what I do, and I get to work with people I love, doing the thing I love, and I get to do as much as I want. So you get to pick. So as we're saying, like, my retirement age is 70. And I say that meaning full force. And at 70, I'm not going to quit. I'm still going to have clients. Why would I love them? Why not devote a few hours? So,
yeah, I totally agree. And it's cool because financially we could retire, but it's like,
right.
why? If I love doing what I'm doing and contributing to the world and all that,
That's what I'm talking about.
Like Ian McFarlane, he's in his 80s now and still.
Exactly. I was thinking of Ian, like, why would I just quit? Like, what? So Pete, it's funny, because Pete's, Pete doesn't have to work. I mean, I shouldn't say, we do well enough. And he goes, we need more clients. I'm getting bored, and I need something in my life. Like, you can't just not do anything. So we signed up a few more clients, and he goes, I want these because I'm excited. Like, it's not hard. It's exciting and fulfilling, and
Yeah,
you make money.
exactly. So,
So that
so
was
how would
another
you describe
tip.
the training, the support, just the sheer systems that Action Coach provides?
So the training is really important, because what's interesting is, when we started 15 years ago, people didn't know what a coach was. So when I would go to a business owner, I would say, well, here's what a coach is, right? Now everybody calls themselves a coach. And so when I talk to people, and you actually have a competitor, like I had to be interviewed because they were looking for coaches. I've never, like this happened 2 weeks ago. They were saying, oh, I have multiple coaches. And I'm like, well, all right, one thing I want to ask you is this. You need to look at the coach's training. Like, what are they training and what is their system? That's what Action Coach has. So you go through this training that teaches you how to be a coach. And the other thing is, there's other coaching systems, but generally they're not going to charge as much as us, which we found out because they don't get the results like we do because we have systems. So here's yesterday. So we had this talk. This guy wants to hire us and he's like, what training have you had? And so we had to describe Action Coach. It was even though we've been around it 15 years, we talked about, well, 15 years ago, we went through a very intense training that allowed us to have the foundation. And then after that, we had conference after conference where we had training. And then they do these, where they constantly train. And then I want to show you, and then we did the identity iceberg, which Craig, you taught me in a diet to always give a concept. I was doing that yesterday thinking of you. And afterwards he goes, it was really good. Cause I always think of Craig because I'm like, let me show you an example. So I did the identity iceberg and how we talk people through it. And he goes, well, I see that you have a system, don't you? And I go, yes. And he felt comforted. It wasn't just this, in this day and age, anybody can call themselves a coach. And I think that gave credibility of, no, we had a franchise that we purchased in order to have the right training, in order to have the right system so that we can come to you with something proven. Now that's after 15 years. If you're a new coach looking on, essential in getting credibility as you're looking at a differentiator. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and now, Peg, I just want you to add to that because sometimes people will look at franchises because of the quote unquote cookie cutter systems that franchises oftentimes provide, which is not the case with Action Coach. We have phenomenal systems, but you can't just go be a monkey and try and execute those systems because every client's different. Every one of them's got different strengths and
Right.
weaknesses, different visions and dreams and goals, different personalities. And so you've got to add your own critical thinking to the mix and adjust the system to fit the client.
Right.
This
Right.
isn't just a train track, there's more of a boat going
That's
across
true.
the ocean. Yeah.
And that's what he did, this guy, Greg. He goes, all right, so I told you our issues. And his issues were like he has a team of salespeople and sales managers, and they were all there. And they just need accountability. And each salesperson needs something different to get better performance, more consistency, that kind of thing. And he goes, okay, so what do we do? Tell me what you would do. And I said, hold on. What we have, and I did exactly what you said. I said, we can't just say from a conversation you've given me 30 minutes what path I would take. The first system is I need to talk to your team to figure out, I need to dive in a little bit more to figure out what's going on from their perspective and to have a deeper conversation and then write a plan. And then based on that plan, we'll pull out tools that Action Coach provides us that we've been trained on that will help serve you. But one tool for Craig is different than Sam, that's different than, so we had Brett and we had Jamie. And I'm like, Jamie might need a whole different thing than Brett because it's got to be customized. It's not cookie cutter because it's based on the person and the need. So he was like, oh, he just wanted here's your solution. And I'm like, and then that's when I pulled out an example of, here's the identity iceberg. Here's an example of what we dive into. And he was like, oh, okay, I get it. I said, so this iceberg is different for each person.
Right, that's exactly right. So,
Right.
so Peg, you were very instrumental in, you and Pete were very instrumental in Turkey. The
Oh, yes.
gals who bought Turkey and are the master licensees over there, they had done a search globally. They were running an entrepreneurship center, did a search globally to bring in some trainers for the entrepreneurs in Turkey that they were working with. And they ended up narrowing it down to Action Coach globally, then narrowed it down to Ohio, and ended up picking you and Pete to
Yes.
go over to Turkey. And then you brought another Action Coach in from the US
Yes.
here. You brought Chuck in, and you guys went to Turkey to do some training for a week, and those guys ended up falling in love with it enough that they became the master licensees. And then you ended
Right.
up getting to train them at their training, correct?
Yes, that's a good story. Yes. That was wonderful. Yes. And the way it was interesting how we got that opportunity is Pete got an email a random email, and it's like one of those emails that you think is spam. And I'll never forget, because we were at a conference with you guys, because you do your regional conferences, and Pete showed it to me, and he goes, "Do you think this is real?" And I'm like, "Well, see if we can do a Skype call." And that's how we ended up getting it. And yeah, ActionCOACH is still there, and it was a really good experience. We went there for a week, and we trained, and they videotaped us, and we trained them for, I want to say, 6 days straight. I actually lost my voice because we were videotaped, translated. It was a really big program. And then I was so fortunate to get to train again the entire Turkey team at training the ActionCOACH training, and they are doing phenomenal now. And of course, you know, that country has had a lot of turmoil with everything, but they have you know what, they have been persistent and have overcome and been very positive about it. So they're doing really well. That was an exciting time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Right. It
And
was great.
I'm
It
like,
was great.
gosh, how cool is that? That one of our franchise partners, two of our franchise partners, are instrumental in Turkey
In
getting
Turkey,
online and
right.
all the help that they're providing their country. Like you said, that country's been through so much turmoil with coups and
Right.
hyperinflation and wars and things like that. That like we have no clue
Right.
what's
Right.
going on. Yeah,
And it was funny because Allie was with me at a global conference where we were with the Turkey people. And so Allie is now she's a sophomore in college. At the time, she was a senior in high school. And they're like, "Allie, we would like you to come to Turkey and come and let us teach you things." So that comes up with a lot of opportunities globally because you're meeting these people. Now, at the time, I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it, Allie." And she goes, "Mom, that is a dangerous country. I don't want to go there. That's not the place I want to go." So she ended up not going. But there's lots of opportunity. Like, and then we went to the Caribbean when that opened. I trained the ML there, and then Pete and I went down and trained their team in the Caribbean at Curacao, if I say that properly, and
yeah,
did the first 90-day plan. And so that was a really exciting one too.
yeah. It's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
um, so what would be your overarching advice to somebody considering Action Coach who's going through our due diligence process? And what would be your advice to them in terms of just going through the due diligence process? And
Hmm.
then what would be your answer to them in terms of definitely do this if, and fill in a blank, and definitely don't do this if, and how would you fill in those blanks?
Okay, so I would say make sure you have enough money to cover your salary and your expenses um, for at least a year. I don't know if that's what you say now. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep, that's what we do. We
Reason,
require them to come in with enough capital to
yes. And the reason we do
grow
that
their
is so
business
that
properly.
you want to allow yourself time to be successful. So you want to make sure that I don't want you to sit on your laurels because you know you have money, but at the same time, I don't want you to be stressing out because you don't have the money. So that's why I always say make sure you have enough to allow yourself success. So what that means is I want you to come. It's no different than when we get a client. We say you have to have three things. You have to be willing to learn, willing to change, and do what you say you're going to do. And if you say yes to those three things, you'll work in our system. And that would be critical. So that's what I would say as you're evaluating this. Number two is I would want you to come in and say, I'm not going to give up, because the coaches give up too soon. They don't allow themselves to be successful, and they get frustrated. And you will be successful, and every disc profile is successful. They all are successful. It's based on what you're going to do. The other thing is if you have a lot of money and you don't need it, that has been a problem for people because they're not willing to work for it, because you have to build up your reputation, you have to build up your knowledge, and you have to learn how to be a coach and how to get clients. You have to learn that. So allow yourself that opportunity and be tenacious and be persistent. And then, so I guess what I would say is if you don't want to learn, change, or follow through, then this isn't for you. Those are the three most important things. And then we can help anything beyond that.
Fantastic advice. And any parting comments, any last thoughts uh, that you would give to somebody who's considering Action Coach as a career for themselves?
Well, obviously, I've told my story. It served me really, really well, obviously. And when I did it, it was the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. And Craig, you helped me. I would call crying. You were such a good person for me through that process. You still are, but I don't need you every single day like I did then. I think I called you every day. Um, I would say Craig and Annette are the perfect MLs. And I've always said I would celebrate you as the top MLs in the world. And so I was fortunate, number one, to have that because you provided a lot of support. And I would say that if you're thinking about it and you're scared and you're not choosing it because of fear, then read the book. Uh, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway? It was the book I read that helped me make the decision, which is probably the most difficult decision I ever made. Looking back now, it would have been easy, but you don't know how it's going to end, so you get scared to make the decision. So don't allow fear to stop you from doing this.
Yeah, very, very good words of wisdom, Peg. And I heard about that book from you when you came through the process, and you told me about it after the fact. So we recommend that book to others
Oh,
as
do
well.
you? Okay, yeah. It
Yeah,
was
it's a great book.
helpful.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It was a
So,
good book. So, well, thank
well,
you, Craig.
yeah, thank you so much, Peg.